Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Matheson here. Just going to start Unit 10 now, and our Section 1 is on reflections. So I know and can use lines of symmetry for reflections. So let's talk about, first we're going to talk about image and pre-image. Our image is our new geometric figure. Our pre-image is our original geometric figure. All right, so now we have those two terms. Image is we're talking about the new one. Pre-image is we're talking about the original one. So we have two examples here, two different types of examples of images and their pre-image. We have one on the left side here, and it's just of an image reflected over a line. So one of them is the pre-image and one's the image. And then in the right side example, we actually have one with the coordinate plane. And we're going to be looking at more like examples like the coordinate plane one today. And this one is an example of reflection over the x-axis. So we have our image and our pre-image here. On both of these, if we fold your paper on that line of reflection, you will see that the image and the pre-image both line up. And they're the exact same spot. So we have three different types of reflections we're going to talk about. Reflection in the x-axis, the y-axis, and in the line y equals x. So let's just start off with the x-axis. To reflect a point in the x-axis, you're going to multiply its y-coordinate by -1. So let's start off with a point. Let's start with +3, +4. So that's my original coordinate. And now we're going to reflect it over the x-axis. So we're going to multiply the y-coordinate by -1. My y-coordinate is 4. So I'm going to have a new ordered pair of 3, -4. So if I graph that one, 3, -4, that's down here. And that is reflected over the x-axis, which is this one here. Okay, we also have reflection over the y-axis. When we reflect over the y-axis, we multiply its x-coordinate by -1. So let's start with that point 3, 4 again. And this time, we're going to multiply it by the x-coordinate by -1. So that's going to give us -3, +4. So that's over the y-axis there. Our last one here we're talking about is reflecting over the line y equals I, or y equals x. So first we need to talk about what is that line y equals x? Well, that's where our y-coordinate and our x-coordinate are equal, such as 1, 1, 2, 2, -4, -4, -10, -10. So that line is a diagonal line that runs right through there. So you don't have to draw this every time, but I'm just drawing this so you know what line we're reflecting on. All right, the rule says to interchange the x and y coordinates. What it means to interchange means we're going to just switch those two coordinates. So let's go ahead and pick a point, -5, 2. Okay, so now to make my new point, my image point, we're going to go to +5, -2. Oops, nope, sorry. Take that back. We're going to interchange the coordinates. So we're going to have 2, -5. So we go over 2 to -5. So if I was to fold my paper on that y equals x line, those 2 points will line up. Those are our 3 rules. So when you do these problems, you're going to want to come back to this little chart here and go ahead and find the rule, and you just follow it. Okay. So it says graph both the pre-image and the reflection. So let's start off with graphing triangle ABC. I'm going to pause the video, you graph it, pause the video also and graph it, and then we'll come back and compare our image. Okay, you want to make sure that you label your vertices. Because we're going to label them when we do our new points, and so we want to be able to tell the difference. So ABC is a triangle and labeled as such. If you haven't labeled yours, go ahead, I want you to label it again. Now I want you to pick up a different colored writing utensil. So colored pencil would be preference here. Okay, so it says we're going to reflect it on the x-axis. So looking at our rule for x-axis, it says multiply its y-coordinate by -1. So I just wrote out here a prime, b prime, c prime. So what we have here tells us that this is our prime. This is our next point. Okay, a prime. So we're multiplying our y-coordinate by -1. So we get -5. 3 times -1 gives me -3. B is 2. 0 times -1 is going to stay 0. And then C, 1, and then 2 times -1 gives us -2. Go ahead, we're going to graph these points, but we're going to label them A prime, B prime, and C prime. So go ahead, and I'm going to pause the video, you pause the video, and then we'll come back and compare. Okay, notice here that our B and our B prime are the same point, so just make sure that you're labeling it B/B prime. All right, so now we've reflected our image over the x-axis. Again, we can fold our paper here on that x-axis, and we'd find that these two would line up. So make sure these couple of reminders. You're graphing both the pre-image and the image or the reflection. Label your points and use 2 different colors. Okay, let's go ahead and try problem 2. Reflect the square JKLM with the vertices. Okay, I'm going to pause the video, you pause the video, draw out square JKLM, and make sure you have labeled your points. See you in a few. All right, so compare yours with mine. Make some changes if you need to. Pause the video. Did you label? Did you remember to label? All right, grabbing that different colored writing utensil, we're going to find J prime, K prime, L prime, and M prime. Now it says to reflect over the y-axis, and the rule to reflecting over the y-axis says to multiply the x-coordinate by -1. So if my j is -4, 6, now I'm going to have 4, 6. My k is 0, 6. 0 times -1 is 0, 6. L, 0 times -1 is 0 and 2. And then m, -4 times -1 gives me a +4, 2. Okay, let's go ahead and pause and then draw your new image and let's compare them. All right, check yours out. Again, L and K are shared, so we're going to have them labeled as both points. All right, let's go to the back side of our note sheet here. It talks about line of symmetry. This is just that reflection line we've talked about. We've talked about it before and called it the axis of symmetry. So reflection line or axis of symmetry. All right, so let's go ahead and look at these problems on the backside. A says, state whether the object appears to have a line of symmetry, write yes or no. If so, draw all lines of symmetry and state their number. Okay, so looking at this one, do you guys remember having kaleidoscopes as kids where you look through the one end and you hold it up to the light and you can twist the little end and it's going to change pictures? This is the idea. Those kaleidoscopes are actually made with mirrors, and that's what gives us the picture. So does this look like I could fold it somewhere and I'd have lines of symmetry? Yes, yes it does. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw some. I can fold it in half this way. I can also fold it here, here, across this direction. Oh, that one wasn't the straightest. This way, and this way. I think we have them all. So then it says to count how many there are. So I'm just going to make blue marks on both ends of this one, just so I know that that's the same line. So once I hit the other end, I don't need to count anymore. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, that line has been already counted. So I have 7 lines of symmetry. Not too difficult. The rest of this should be pretty good, easy for us. All right, now let's look here again. We're going to state if it has symmetry, and yes or no, and then draw them. Well, looking here, there's some things that stick out to me that make me go, I don't think so. I see these two pink and green shapes. There's no line of symmetry that's going to get them to line up with each other. Also, I have a purple triangle and a yellow star there that are also not going to line up. Here I have this triangle and no triangle over here. So this one is no. All right, now we have a triangle. State whether the figure appears to have lines of symmetry, right, yes or no, and state the number. Well, triangles. This one shouldn't be too bad for us. Obviously, this one is a yes. I can fold it here, here, and here. So I have 3 lines. All right, use the figure in the given line of reflection, draw the reflected image. So now we're going to just practice drawing some of those images. So imagine if you folded my paper or your paper on those lines, what would it look like on the other side? So this really is just taking some practice doing that. So I see here M, and that is on my line of reflection, so that's going to be M prime. I'm just going to come up this direction. I kind of am like wanting to eyeball it up to about there. So that gives me J prime. Come down this direction. And this is not a precise thing, ladies and gentlemen. We're going out about there to an L prime and back. Again, it's not the most precise, but we're looking for, does it have the same shape? Is that about where it would be? All right, I want you guys to try the second figure and do that for us. I'm sure you'll get it. How does yours compare? Looks pretty good. All right, last 2. State whether the figure has the line of symmetry, right, yes or no. Here we have a trapezoid, so we definitely have that one. We do not have a horizontal one there because the top and the bottom are not congruent lengths, so then we won't have one there. Same idea, we won't have diagonal ones because our corners won't line up. So we only have one line of symmetry. On our last one with our butterfly here, we only can fold it right down the middle and we come up with our line of symmetry. All right, guys, thanks for joining me, and you have your practice to do.